Let's explore some things you can use to help yourself when you are dealing with pre-verbal trauma, or you have an inclination that there's some stuff going on in your body, mind, nervous system that is before you were speaking, before you're able to form cognitive memories or access those memories. This is a really, really important thing, and I want to always start from the perspective of empowerment and not feeling like, okay, well, this might be pre-verbal, so therefore I'm out of luck. I have no idea what to do. I need to hire a whole different person or someone to work with me. Of course, it's ideal to work with someone when it comes to trauma and things of that nature, but I just don't want you to feel like there's absolutely nothing I can do because we don't always have the time or the resources to be able to access this. So the fundamentals, there are a lot of elements of inner work and emotional healing that can still benefit you very much, even if you know you're dealing with something pre-verbal. And I want to share some of these ideas. Also, this comes from a comment on a video I made where I was talking about the importance of working with specifics, right? And I talk about that with tapping, and it's part of clinical EFT tapping, where we're saying, for example, just tapping on a vague theme like, I feel safe with money, money comes to me, versus your specific body, mind, nervous system events that happened around money, the specific way you feel fear or anxiety about it, this feeling in my chest when I think about it. So while I'm emphasizing that, that can create an idea that, well, if it's pre-verbal and I don't have access to those memories or those details, am I just out of luck? And no, you're not out of luck at all. The important distinction here is we're talking about the difference between, let's say, doing a tapping or a meditation where you're just saying something like, this pre-verbal trauma, this trauma in the womb, this trauma before I could talk, and you're tapping through the points, or you're listening to a meditation. It's just sort of like, okay, I release the pre-verbal trauma. That's the vague version, versus maybe you don't have access to the specific memory or the details, but the way it's manifesting for you, right? So whatever is coming up for you that clues you that there's something going on. So it might be some sensations in your body. It might be this really strong anxiety. The world just doesn't feel safe. And you can tell it goes back from younger. But we're talking about being with or approaching that specific feeling of how you don't feel safe versus just tapping on pre-verbal trauma. So I hope that makes sense. You want to be specific in that way, but it's okay that you can't remember specific details because that's sort of part of the whole deal when we're talking about this pre-verbal, precognitive stuff, right? So what you can actually apply, I recommend applying this to everything in a lot of ways, and if you're familiar with some of my work, you know this, but thinking about an actual non-verbal being, right? So think of a newborn or an infant who's not speaking yet, or a dog or a cat, unless you have a special one that can't speak. Think about the way you communicate to them or with them. We can communicate so much. In fact, most of communication is nonverbal anyway. It's not the words, it's the tone. It's the way you can be there with an infant in the energy of your body, right? The way you're communicating. I'm here with you, my attention is with you, I care about you. The tone of my voice is indicating calmness and safety and that I want the best for you. Imagine just taking that energy, saying, can I apply that spirit to what's going on inside of me? So this fear or anxiety that's coming up, can you be with it? Can you move towards it with that spirit of, oh yes, you're really afraid. There's a lot of fear here. Yeah, I'm here for you. I'm here to listen to you. Right? It's a vibe. It's an energy. And the trauma itself is nonverbal or pre-verbal, so it only makes more and more sense to me that it only further emphasizes the importance of not what do I say or like what techniques do I throw at this thing, right? But how am I being with it? So I hope that is empowering to you in the sense that, oh yeah, I can apply that. That is if you have the capacity to do that. Now, I know in a perfect world, we could all work with someone one-on-one and then maybe like a pre-verbal expert if we're dealing with something pre-verbal, but we don't all have the resources. Many of us don't have the time and or money for that. But if you don't have the capacity, meaning like this anxiety, this feeling that I feel is connected to the pre-verbal stuff is too deep for me to approach, it's too overwhelming, we don't want to force that. It's one of the worst things we can do. And you may have heard me talk about that before. We don't go to a gym and just try to keep lifting 500 pounds and hope one day we can do it. It doesn't do anything. We have to build the muscles. We have to build the capacity. So working with the seemingly smaller events, right, the little annoyances, that will still be building your capacity and will help create the space for the deeper stuff underneath to arise. It's a very, very common mistake we make to think, okay, well, I need to just go for the root cause, and because that's where it all comes from. So if I just go there, that's the place to go. And my first video in the series, if you want to call it that, why your beliefs aren't changing, is, we often just try to go for this kind of statement of the whole thing. Like, well, I don't feel safe, so let me just think about safety or tap on safety. Or when I talk about not re-traumatizing yourself, let me go to the worst experience I can possibly find and dig into that. Doesn't really help you. Just think about any other aspect of your life. Again, fitness. You don't start running a marathon and then work backwards. You start walking around the block until your heart can handle that, and then you can move faster, right? So allow yourself to connect to the idea that working on the things I can work on, being present and kind and self-compassion, maybe I'm doing EFT tapping, release techniques, whatever, on the stuff I can, that is building my capacity, building the resources so that the pre-verbal, the deeper stuff will arise, so that it can even arise. You want to respect the intelligence of your nervous system that doesn't bring things up unless it's ready. It doesn't need us in there saying, come on, I need you to come out today because I got stuff to do. I need to heal, right? It knows what is right and what is appropriate. So if you can continue to trust that and develop this positive relationship with yourself, that I'm not broken, pre-verbal trauma doesn't mean I'm defective or that there's something wrong with me that I can't access. It simply means it's not time, or I can't do this alone right now, and I need to work on the things that I can. And in the meantime, work on this sort of non-verbal communication spirit with myself of how am I interacting? How do I talk to myself? Am I being dismissive and cold, or am I being with myself the way I would approach that, distressed newborn, where I'm here to communicate presence, safety, and not just talk about our problems. So I hope this gives you some ways of looking at and being with and exploring this pre-verbal stuff, right? The quick recap is, don't feel hopeless. Don't let your mind tell you, well, this needs a whole other set of tools and there's nothing I can do and this is all completely outside my wheelhouse, even if it is a little overwhelming and confusing, right? The fundamentals of emotional work can still be helpful because it's nonverbal. Think about practicing, which again, I think is one of the most important things you can practice regardless. Practicing the way you are with yourself, the way you are being, the energy you're taking. Are you coming from a fix-it place? I'm going to get in there and fix this, or a place of being present and listening and providing calm, safety, etc. And then work with what you can. If there's deeper stuff, but it's not coming up, there's nothing wrong with you. Your nervous system knows what it's doing. It's not time yet, or you need to do it sooner. You might need to be in an environment working with someone one-on-one or in a group or something. And I've seen this many times, and I've worked with people with pre-verbal trauma and things of that nature, and it didn't require an entirely new set of tools. Right? It wasn't like, okay, oh, now it's pre-verbal, now everything else is like out the window and we have to go into this whole other territory. I found the fundamentals still apply, and that's good news for you. If you're interested in working with me on any level, group, one-on-one, you can check out the description or my free ebook that goes a little more into the mechanics of how I approach this way of being with yourself. And I hope this helps you. Thanks so much.